record on this computer. 3, 2, 1, go.
Hello. Ignacy Portal Games.
And this is the Podfather of Gaming, Stephen Bonacore. You are listening to episode 183 of Board Games Insider, and we're recording it on February 17th, 2021. Board Games Insider is a proud member of the Dice Tower Network, and Tom Vassell likes pie. Tom Vassell loves pie. Tom Vassell loves pie so much that he will lose to me in every dexterity challenge we ever have just so he can get pied in the face and eat more pie. Ignacy, have you seen those videos?
I've seen those videos, and I must admit, I cannot believe it's really happening. I heard you first, I think it's the word bantering, that you will do this, who is better, who will win, and you were trash talking each other. And I thought, okay, it's funny. And then it really happened. I couldn't believe what I'm watching. So yes, kudos for both of you for a sense of humor, for being this positive, crazy energy in the industry.
Thank you.
I'm also crazy, but I would not risk the challenge. I'm not that crazy.
It's a very tasty challenge if you lose, but it's very satisfying when you win.
But
anyway,
I can give insight from my home, from Cevichek's home. My daughter Lena, when she was like, I don't know, 6 or 5 years old, when she was young, her dream was to get this pie in the face. Like she know it from the cartoons, I guess. And for her birthday, we gave her as a gift getting this pie into the face. She was so happy. It was her moment that she was remembering. Yes, for my birthday, I get my pie in the face. It was so funny. So yes, some people really enjoy that. And kids.
There is a game called Pie Face. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah.
And that's what, you kind of get you get cream or something in your face. Anyway, that was a long intro. Tell us, Ignacy, what is happening at Portal Games?
I have no clue what's happening. There's so many things happening that we need like 1 hour segment of me discussing what's happening. Of course, hiring new people here in Poland in our department. So new people in the team. I'm very proud that we are growing. New releases here in Poland for American market. Of course, we are preparing for our first release. It will be 51st State, the Moloch expansion that is on a pre-order right now. And we mentioned this already. And of course, preparing for the Kickstarter campaign for this Robinson Crusoe thing. Everybody knows that, so I can already now tell you that February 25th is the date for you to pay attention if you like Robinson Crusoe. More on that at the end of the episode, because Steven told me that, Ignacy, this is the way you do it. Spoil at the beginning and finish at the end. So this is his way. So I will discuss it at the end once again. And basically ton of stuff like sending files for Dune for accept from Legendary. So of course this is a big thing for me to have these new chapters, new missions accepted. Things happening. Basically, I'm in a great mood. As our listeners know, when I'm busy, I'm happy. Of course, sometimes I need a rest, as every single human being. But besides that, I prefer to be involved in all the things, from the crazy things that I can report for our fans in America. In Poland, I started playing first Martians, live streaming on YouTube for our Polish fans. After 5 years from release of the game, I decided, okay, it's time for me to revisit the Mars and play it, and I have a great time. But don't worry, I didn't forget. We have a brag section of this new segment.
Yes, we do.
And oh my God, this is a big one. If I'm not afraid, and I am afraid, so I will not do this, but if I'm not afraid, I will now share with you guys and with Steven my screen to show it to you.
Oh.
And I will do it with Steven after the recording, so I'm not screwing the recording. But yes, Detective was in a national TV in Poland, featured in I think this is called the Breakfast TV. This is how you call it in America, this morning segment when they are discussing politics and they are discussing a recent event and some strange guest. Like 8 a.m.
Yeah, I don't think we have a name for it. It's just like morning news shows. Yeah. So, okay. Wow.
So there was a guest. One of these crazy guests. They invited someone to discuss board games, and they brought Everdell. They brought, of course, Wingspan. They brought Terraforming Mars. But the main news was Detective as the biggest game from Polish designer, because it was in Polish TV. So I was a star for a couple of minutes, and they were talking about me such a nice things. I could not even tell so nice things about myself. Of course, ton of feedback, positive feedback from fans. Our fans were calling the office, "Hey, you're on TV, check out!" And so it was very fun. So yes, my brag of the week,
That
I
is
was on TV.
awesome.
I mean, my game was on TV, but this is like me.
That's the best, man. That is great. I love when I hear things like that. You know, we go mainstream with our
Yep.
little hobby. Fantastic.
Yep. And the video of the week, I recorded a video that probably would be even interesting for Steven, because I picked the top 5 CCGs I played in 90s. I know that Steven also was playing CCGs back then, and Zev and all of us who started at the beginning of this industry when CCGs were very popular. So I listed top 5 CCGs that I loved back then and I played. So if you are interested in that, check out my YouTube channel. And once a reminder, I record every Monday, 9 a.m. Eastern time, a live stream, and you can check out.
That's great. I don't think I can name 5 CCGs anymore. I'm sure I can, but that's a lot of you obviously played a lot of CCGs if you're naming your top 5 CCGs. True. Yes?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Did you? All right, we're not going to go too deep, but did you collect them all? Or
I'm to be honest, and I'm discussing this in this video, but to be
okay,
honest, mostly I was collecting.
Okay, let's not go too deep if everybody wants to hear, because I'm going to go watch it now because I want to hear what he was collecting, what he was playing, and if I'm going to tell you, if Vampire: The Eternal Struggle is not in your list of the top 5, I'm going to be so angry at you because that's the best CCG ever. Anyway, what's happening over at the Podfather of Gaming? Well, the first thing I want to mention, and it's a very time sensitive for anybody out there, because you're going to have 2 days only from the time this drops for you to act. And this is for the Kickstarter for Core Worlds Empires. Core Worlds Empires by Quixotic Games. What? Not Stronghold Games? No. Andrew Parks, whose design studio, he's the original designer of Core Worlds. His design studio is Quixotic Games. He got the rights back to Core Worlds in a very nice agreement with Stronghold Indie Game Studios. And he had developed a new game called Core Worlds Empires. And it's a completely different game. It's an epic game, sort of like 4X, though you're doing a little bit of battling with other players, but not a lot. You're exploring the galaxy. It happens thematically after the fall of the Empire, and now you're going to go for the claiming of the title of the Galactic Emperor. It is truly an epic game. I have played the prototype. I wouldn't be even talking about it, but I want to give Andy and Quixotic Games a shout out for Core Worlds Empires. It's just a great game that's taking that thematic nature of the original Core Worlds and taking it to a whole nother level. Check it out. And in that Kickstarter, you can also get Core Worlds Nemesis, which is a solo expansion for the original Core Worlds. So one of the knocks is, well, I can't play Core Worlds. I don't have a gaming group, pandemic, whatever. Guess what? You get this. You can play Core Worlds solo with this expansion. So check it out. You're going to have 2 more days. Go onto Kickstarter, type in Core Worlds Empires. You'll see the thing come up. I also posted a video talking about it, like on my channel and on Facebook, because I really believe in this game and I want to help out them. And they're already funded, but now you got a chance to go get it. And if you never bought Core Worlds in the beginning, of course, you can buy all the products as well. Andy's smart guy. He'll sell everything to you. Core Worlds Empires and Core Worlds Nemesis on Kickstarter now. Last week, I talked about a gentleman by the name of Dante Loretta, who's a game designer, but more importantly, he's a professor at the University of Arizona, and he serves as the principal investigator on NASA space missions, particularly one that went to an asteroid, grabbed some soil, and is going to come back and bring it back to Earth for investigation. So cool. Well, Dante has several games under his belt and he publishes them, self-publishes them using Kickstarter. It's Extranaut Games, I believe that's how you pronounce it, Extranaut Games. And he's now working on another game based on science with his brother, who works for the NOAA, National Oceanic Association. So he's also a scientist, and they're working on a game based on fishing, responsible fishing, conservation in responsible fisheries, the three of us had a game design session, so to speak, a game review. They asked for my feedback as a professional in the industry, and I gave them an hour and some, and we talked about some ideas for the game. They're going to go on Kickstarter with this in April and they want to take some of my comments to heart and make some changes and make some this and that. But from what I saw, this is a great game. So, like Terraforming Mars, right, which is based on hard science, projected hard science for the future, this game, and there are other games, but this game called Pisces, I didn't mention the game. Pisces, the fish sign, is based on science, life cycles of fish, and you've got to manage the fisheries in a responsible manner. I loved the way that he implemented the fish life cycles, and there's like 6 different kinds of fish, so that each one acts differently in when you should harvest them, how many points you can get for them. Again, it's a good game from what I could see from every indication that I didn't play it, but I read through it and I went through it with them. Really interesting concepts based on hard science. Check this out on Board Game Geek now. It's the only game with the name Pisces in its title, so it's going to be easy to find. Check it out now, and they're going to be going to Kickstarter in April. I'll report back at that time. So there's my report. No more stuff about conventions until we can get closer to it, right, Ignacy? Hopefully, maybe later this year, we'll be talking about good things like that.
I guess.
I hope. All right, let's move into the event deck. So the first thing I put it right at the top because it was something that happened over the week that has just passed, and I thought it was just huge, phenomenal news, and I was raving about it. And Ignacy may not have the same opinion as me, but let me read it. It's Asmodee acquiring Board Game Arena. So Board Game Arena is the biggest of the board game implementing online sites. So it's not like Steam, which is actually a local client. It's not like iOS or Android, which you put on your mobile. This, you go to a web browser and you can play lots of different board games that have been implemented for the web browser. Let me read the announcement here. I think this is great. And Asmodee announced that it has acquired Board Game Arena, BGA, a digital multiplayer board game platform. Asmodee continues to grow its portfolio for game industry assets. BGA, founded in 2010 by Gregory Isabelli and Emmanuel Collin, is a board gaming platform that carries online versions of 250 games in 40 languages. It has 5 million subscribers and has logged more than 4 million online games played in just 7 Wonders alone. Wow, 4 million online games played for just 7 Wonders alone since 2018. Thomas Kolger, head of strategy at Asmodee, had the following to say about the acquisition. Our growth is based on one crucial commitment: offer the best gaming experience to consumers and bring our brands to the widest audience. Having a platform that allows players from all over the world to meet and play their favorite games together or discover new games is a natural fit alongside our amazing catalog of games. BGA's management team will join Asmodee as the two companies come together, and BGA will operate independently with the current BGA management still in charge. This acquisition will also help Asmodee speed up availability of its games on BGA. So obviously there's 2 sides to every idea here. And my take, if I may continue, is that this is another acquisition by Asmodee which will bring more eyeballs onto things. They'll publicize this, the way that they'll get things out there for people and for gamers. They've picked a great site to acquire and to use. They'll put more and more games. They've also said that other publishers' games will still be allowed on the site. They're not changing any fee structures yet. Sure, they might. But net, I think putting the kind of work that they've put into their digital implementations that they do on Steam and iOS and Android, and putting that professionalism into this online web-based platform can only be a good thing in the air quotes short term, at least for a year or so. Long term, we'll see. I still think it's going to be a big plus. Ignacy, Slavic opinion, please.
Of course. Yes. So on one hand, I absolutely agree with you that with their quality and skills and of course the budget, they will change this website to some amazing platform to play board games. And of course, Slavic questions arise as they say now. Games from other publishers will be there. The question is, even 2 or 3 years, other publishers will really have a chance to have a games out there, or Asmodee will say, no, this is our platform, we will invest our money, people are playing our games there, and sorry, but it's our platform. And of course, there may be these whining players like Ignacy who say, oh, Asmodee will now kick off my game from this platform. And did you play on this platform? No, but I didn't use this, but still I'm whining. I understand this approach as well, but so we may see a lot of people complaining that this is a monopoly and Asmodee is just coming and buying everything. I was skeptical about this whole acquiring things for many years, and I'm still, and it's because of the culture I was growing up, because of my experience in my life. I don't like the big gorillas having a ton of advantage over the smaller fishes, and I would prefer to have Tabletopia and Board Game Arena competing for our hearts, for our money, for our attention. Now with Asmodee, of course, Tabletopia have to have much more attention to grow. We will see. For me, the worrying thing, for me is rather psychological than in actual facts, and is I don't feel comfortable in the industry when one of the big players says, "Hey guys, you do a good job. Now we buy you." Like this is like they are like in a candy store, just buying all these other companies, and I don't feel comfortable with that.
We will see how it plays out, but
we will report in a few years for sure.
We will report again on this without a doubt.
One day, Asmodee will acquire Board Games Insider, and then we will report. It was a great move from Asmodee.
How much money are we worth? I don't know. I don't think we generate any money, so I think that number is $0. All right, so now into the definitely negative side of what happens, lawsuits in the industry. But there's some positive, some negative here. Gale Force 9 and Wizards of the Coast settle their lawsuit. Ongoing partnership to continue. Gale Force 9 and Wizards of the Coast have settled the lawsuit it's very weirdly worded. Settled the lawsuit GF9, with GF9 telling ICV2 the ongoing partnership between the companies will continue. Okay, they just reported that the ongoing partnership will continue. The case was permanently dismissed in federal court Monday at the request of the two companies, with no award of fees or costs to either party. The lawsuit, which Gale Force 9 filed in November, sought to prevent WotC from terminating Gale Force 9's licenses to produce Dungeons and Dragons products, an award of $950,000, fees, and other remedies. That's what they were seeking. Gale Force 9's effort to maintain its license appears to have been successful. Quote, "We are pleased to confirm that we have reached an amicable resolution with Wizards of the Coast," a spokesman for Gale Force 9 said to ICV2. "Our ongoing partnership for Dungeons and Dragons will continue, and more news will follow at a later date." The settlement came after an initial ruling favorable to Wizards of the Coast. The ruling was on GF9's request for a restraining order that would prevent WotC from terminating the GF9 licenses. In a report to the court, the federal magistrate judge recommended against granting the restraining order. He noted that GF9 had failed to clearly show that it was likely to suffer irreparable harm if the order wasn't granted, or if there was a likelihood that the case would not succeed on its own merits. Yada, yada, yada. So this is the second lawsuit that Wizards of the Coast has settled recently. We reported a couple of weeks ago, I believe, that the Tracy Hickman, Margaret Weiss Dragonlance novels, the D&D based novels, who WotC just took back their rights, took back the WotC's rights without working with them, and that they had been working on books under an agreement to do these books. And they even got the president of the Writers Guild involved, that they had to settle this because they obviously did the wrong thing. I have a feeling, this is an opinion, that WotC is going and doing some interesting things to try to get back rights that they maybe should not be able to get back. And therefore, they're settling things now and saying, all right, well, guys, maybe we overstepped our boundaries. That's an opinion. But certainly, that's two things that they've settled that people have brought against them. Interesting fact. Ignacy?
Yeah, this is, as I was reading this news, because it is a follow-up, it was earlier also reported about the things that are happening. As I understood, Gale Force 9 was trying to do some products, some licensing, and they were waiting for WotC to accept this, to make it happen, and they were losing money because they were not able to do the business. And yeah, this may be super frustrating, and that's good that they are now in a good condition and everything is solved. Maybe it is what you say. You said it's just opinion, but maybe it was the case that WotC was stopping them to make some decisions because they plan to do it in a different way. But now they are changing this. I would sue many of my partners for delaying my products because they have no files ready or whatever. I could go to court every single day with my partners. So
I hope you don't do that.
Yeah, I hear you, Gale Force 9.
So here's one where WotC apparently has won a lawsuit. This is like the all WotC episode here. ACD Distribution, which is second, third biggest in the United States, is required to pay $250,000 to WotC for fees, but they filed an appeal on this. WotC gets an extension to respond. ACD Distribution has appealed the decision in its litigation against Wizards of the Coast to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals in San Francisco, according to court filings. It has appealed both the base ruling in the case that allowed WotC to terminate its relationship with ACD and a follow-up ruling that required ACD to pay over $250,000 to Wizards of the Coast for its legal fees incurred. After WotC made its intentions to terminate ACD as a distributor clear in 2018, ACD sued under the Wisconsin Fair Dealership Law to prevent the termination. After a change of venue to a U.S. court in the Western District of Washington, so they moved the case from Wisconsin to Seattle, the court ruled that the Washington state law governed the relationship between the companies and that the Wisconsin Fair Dealership Law does not apply. The ruling removed the restraining order originally granted in Wisconsin, and WotC terminated ACD last August. So here is a case where ACD, they look like maybe they were actually terminating this agreement legally in this case, with fair notice, maybe in this case, because... And then ACD was saying, well, we're going to be irreparably damaged. So in Wisconsin, there's some law about fair dealings and damage to be done and things like that. This is a very complicated one where, God knows, I don't know anything about this specific type of law that they quoted. It's a very specific type of law in Wisconsin that they quoted here. So once WotC got it moved to a Washington state court, which is probably where they are. And that's probably where the contract was written. And it says under the laws of Washington state, then this is going to be adjudicated. It got there and the court said, no, it doesn't, that law doesn't apply here. So you're done. So I don't know what's going to happen here, but that's still a lot of money that ACD might be losing besides the business now, because they're going to get and recover the legal fees associated with all this. It'll be interesting to see if we hear any more about this.
I cannot wait for season 2 of our podcast when we start recording, when I'm also retired, and then we can go all in with our comments, and we will not care about anything else, because on a serious note, this is, for me, I don't understand it, and I would love to do some investigation. what happened that what he doesn't want to work with ACD? Like if there is any partner who wants to sell your product, you should work with them, unless this is something very, very strange happening. So I really don't understand. I have no behind the scenes knowledge, and if I have, probably I would not be able to share it with you anyway. But for me, it's a very perplexing news. We covered this last year when when it was in the court. And I don't understand how Watts doesn't want to sell the product. That's as simple as that.
There could be other underlying things as you're implying. So let's see if we hear any more about this in the future. One more news story before we move on. This is really great. It again shows how wonderful this industry is and how it is expanding and people are coming in and people are moving around. Pandasaurus Games and Renegade Game Studios each add 2 hires. So we love to bring up these stories and shout out these people. Pandasaurus Games and Renegade Game Studios both recently added 2 people to their respective staffs. Pandasaurus Games hired Ann Kinner as their production coordinator and Mike Young as their project manager. Kinner was previously at Z-Man Games, an Asmodee company, and had production experience from working on the Pandemic line. Young, who had a decade of industry experience, was brought in from Plan B Games, where he helped publish Azul. Renegade Game Studios also acquired 2 new associate producers, Jimmy Lee and Trivia Fox. Lee spent several years working on organized play at Fantasy Flight Games, more acquires from Asmodee, and specializes in planning events. Fox was a team lead for Roll20 Marketplace, as well as art director for games like Thirsty Sword Lesbians, a very interesting title, and Burnt Bright. I hope I don't get in trouble. Anyway, so this is great stuff. People moving around in the industry, and you know, we've talked about people shedding. That Asmodee's been shedding some of its people, and now they're getting picked up. Good people find new homes in this growing industry. Asmodee needs to consolidate after all of these acquisitions. It just makes sense that they're laying some people off. Those good people find homes in the next tier of companies, which definitely that next tier includes Renegade Game Studios and Pandasaurus Games. They are growing, fantastic companies.
Yeah, this is the moment when I agree with my co-host Steven. I myself just hired a couple of new talented people to my company here in Poland, and so from my perspective, absolutely, if you're hiring, that means that you are growing, that you are adding new value to the company. And I always look at this, that you are bringing talent to the company, that the person that will improve the whole company, add some value. And I'm always very excited when I hire somebody, and for everybody else that they're hiring, this is a new talent on board. It will change the company for better. So I'm always very, very excited about this news.
Awesome. Awesome. Let's end the news now and get over to strategy and tactics. All right, we have Alan Krinsky, who's at Alan Krinsky on Board Game Geek. He says, hello, Stephen Ignacy. Hello, Alan. Here's a game design question. Well-designed games often produce close final scores among players. Sure. And yet, the closer the scores, the more likely it would seem that a single lucky draw or roll or such will tip the balance, meaning that the one who played the game most skillfully does not necessarily win. Now, of course, most of the fun is in the playing, not the winning. I hope you believe that, Alan. I believe that. But how can you tell in playtesting or otherwise when a game is really well calibrated to remain competitive until the end and produce those close scores? And when is it so close at the end that random events determine who wins and who loses, meaning that an hour or two of skill play can be wiped out in a moment of bad luck? Ignacy, this one's got your name written all over it. It's because you are the designer here. Can you address this kind of close game versus luck issue that he's bringing up? It's interesting.
Yeah, this is a very good question. And once again, I did a seminar about the playtesting, because the playtesting is quite a skill to run a playtest and know what you want to achieve. And he points out a very interesting point. When I playtest my card game, and I see 2 players playing this card game, I know every single card of the game. I know how powerful these cards are. And when I see the one of the players has this very powerful card at the very beginning of the playtesting session, I already know that he will probably win or if he will lose. Like I get this more information that just, hey, give me the score at the end of the playtest. No. I need to know how the play was played, if they were playing smart, if he used the card. So we are not entirely looking just at the numbers. We are looking at the whole playtest. If he used the right way of this card, if he forget about one of the abilities, etc., etc. That's why in my seminar I say that I'm one of these designers who is sitting with these playtesters. I'm sitting there watching them play, and I get much more than just a number at the very end. And on the other hand, if you compare me with, for example, Vlada Kvatil, who is a coder and a programmist, and he can code the thing, he goes in a different direction. He goes with the mass data, and he runs his games and playtesting on the computer. So he can do this. I cannot. And he has numbers after 1,000 games or 5,000 games, and then he see that okay, it is balanced now because the computer played against computer, and he has a number. So for me, it's just sitting with the players and understanding what's happening at the table, and not just looking at the final score. For the Vlada, is opposite, just looking at the final score, but from the 1,000 games.
Right.
So it's important.
And that's Vlada Shvatel, making sure everyone understood what you said, because his name is very hard.
In Czech, it will be Chvatil.
Okay. Yes, but we have to say it in English for this audience. I agree with what you're saying. I think that any issue that Alan is mentioning here would be more in a game where like there's a very low ending score. I don't think that you see this issue really happen as much, or it's not as significant in a game that, like, you know, your average score is 50 or 100 points. There's just going to be a wide range, and one card pull that was really good for the person sure gave them a thing, but they probably played pretty well to get all those other victory points. But in a game like I think like maybe like Catan is a good example where this could be something where like you only score 10 points at Catan, right? First one to 10 wins the game.
Yep.
So something truly lucky, but then that's completely mitigated because people are seeing like, oh my gosh, he's ahead, and therefore I'm not going to trade with him. And they got that meta game going on in there too. So it's an interesting thing. I think it's less of an issue, Alan, than what you're saying. But your opinion is very interesting. Okay. Josh Taub, who's at Savioto, he says, I'm not a designer, but I dream to have a game come from my head that is in a package. Everyone should have that dream. I have a theme setting ideas. I have a theme and setting and ideas about therapy and psychology. Okay. But all of my mental and notepad ideas turn to deck building. How do I get out of the funk how do you get out of a funk when your ideas follow a similar mechanism? So I guess he doesn't, I mean, first of all, let me start by saying, Josh, I mean, why not go with that? If deck building makes you comfortable for this, go with it. I mean, deck building is certainly a great mechanic, and it's loved. It's not like if you said it was a push your luck game or something. Well, that's kind of frowned upon on some level by some people, but deck building is huge. I would say roll with it if that's kind of like pushing you to it. Don't try to leave it. But if you're really looking to say, how do you move your head in one direction from a mechanic to another direction to a different mechanic? I'll turn that over to Ignacy to see again. How do you change your direction when you're designing a game? You say, I got this, but maybe I really want to go in a different direction.
Yeah, so of course I have no clue. Like when I start designing, it just flows and I go with the flow, and I don't have this recognition. Hey, I'm just doing this worker placement game and I want to something else. No, I'm doing what I'm doing and I go with the flow. Of course, if you have some directions from the publisher, if you have some directions from the market that you need to design something else, you ask for help from co-designers, from developers, from playtesters. But I didn't have any time in my career situation that I designed something and I said, oh my God, accidentally I did worker placement. I was planning to do deck builder. What I should do now? No, I just go with the flow, and then hopefully something good will go out of it. So if you are saying that all your ideas go to deck building, that means that you're doing deck building game. Don't be afraid, go for it, create a great game.
Yep.
And yeah, don't change it.
Yeah. I think we have time for one more question because playtesting will be a little shorter this time. Ed Crutchington asks, and he's at Dark Renown, with very few exceptions, no one really gets rich from board games. I don't know. I think I did okay. I think Ignacy's doing okay. But as a career, there seems to be plenty of opportunity in a wide variety of roles within a game company. That's right. And that's the important thing. There's many roles that you can have within a company besides owner, which, lots of risk, but of course, a lot of reward. Editor, and he goes and he brings out editor, copyright, sales, development, testing, art, media. Yep, all those things. That is true, Ed. So my questions are: do you have defined roles within your companies with career progression plans and performance ratings, etc., or is it more informal? That is a great question. So how professional do you think most publishing companies are, if you can either talk directly to Portal Games or you can talk about it in general? Let's start with that one and we'll get to his other questions. Do you have roles within your company? Of course you do. But do you have like career progress with like annual reviews and things like that?
With every year of the growth of the company, I'm changing slowly, and I'm not super happy with that. But I'm changing to more this corporate style of the company. At this point, we have almost 40 people here in Poland, so this is like a pretty big company. And yes, we treat our employees on one hand as this family, geeky, amazing, crazy gaming company, and the other hand, yeah, this is a legit company with lots of people involved, very serious jobs, all these accountants, logistics, etc., etc. And yes, and they have their goal for the year, what they need to achieve, what I want them from them, and then we do evaluation of the year. And yeah, so we are slowly turning to the dreadful corporation. That's how it works when you are growing.
It's true. Yeah. So the bigger you are, the more bureaucracy you have within the company. So, and you need it. You need to have that. You need to have an HR department, even if it's a one person that wears a couple of hats, but they've got to be able to take those kind of issues that might come up. Next question: is there a network between games and publishing companies, between game companies, publishing companies that share good people in the industry and conversely share the knowledge about troublesome ones? I'll take that to start. Well, if you got a good person, you certainly aren't going to share them with anybody. You're going to keep them and try to make them happy and keep them in there. And in general, sure. I mean, we talk about people who are good and maybe people who are bad who left the company, not in a over like don't hire this person, but like if somebody comes to you and says that I was going to hire them, you might have to say it was a mutual agreement that this did not work out, and you'll just make it known that it's was not a fit within the company. So people talk.
Here in Poland, it is quite the same case. And what I really appreciate in this industry, Steven mentioned this many times before, we are friendly competitors. That means that we compete for the market. Of course, we want our games to succeed, but there is no backstabbing. There is a much more friendship and help, and we all are gamers, and
Absolutely.
we know each other for years. There was many situations in the previous years when I was recommending somebody that was not a good fit for me because of the location when he lives, or maybe his salary or whatever, and I was recommending them for different company, and they find the job and they are working, and we are friends. Right now, for instance, we have an artist who is doing a cover for us for one of our games, and he was recommended to us from Awakened Realms, our friends from Wrocław. He was working for them. I called Awakened Realms. I said, I need this I need artists. Who can you recommend? They said, hey, this guy is amazing. Work with him. He's a freelancer. So yes, there is a ton of friendship in the industry. I mean, at least around me. Like I really have many friends in the industry, and we help each other.
Absolutely, it really is. It's the friendly competition that really makes this worth being in. Last question is: are there industry standard wage ranges for different roles? And I assume they differ wildly by region and worldwide. The answer is there is no standard, and they absolutely differ tremendously by the country that the people are in, without a doubt, as it always does.
And I would not call it this as like an industry standard. Like if I'm hiring accountant, I pay him the accountant role, not the board game accountant. No, this is accountant. Like, so basically, we are talking about the job description has in each country or each state the range of the salary they can have, and this is what we pay. And there is no special modifier, board game modifier, +2, -2 multiplied by 3.
I'll disagree a little. I mean, yes, I basically agree with that, but there's a little bit like, for instance, if in the US, in a board game company, one of the size that we're normally dealing with, if they are a project manager and they're going to like handle projects for you, like game projects, whatever, you're probably not going to get the same salary as you would working as a project manager in IT on Wall Street.
Yeah,
which is where I came from. So there is a bit of that industry differential, but you got to know that if you're going to be coming to, there's not a hell of a lot of, there's not huge amounts of money in this industry. There's enough that you can do okay if you're good at what you do. And of course, successful companies, the owners of the companies, of course, are doing well, or else they couldn't survive and hire people and continue to grow and things like that. So there we go. Let's get over to our play testing segment. All right. So Ignacy and I just spoke about this in great detail in the news segment. So we're just going to reiterate our feelings in a sentence or two, but we want to know how you feel about this. With the Asmodee acquisition of Board Game Arena, will it be a net positive or a net negative for, one, the industry as a whole, and two, the average gamer? Ignacy, in a brief sentence or two, you said,
I'm skeptical, I'm afraid, and I am in the wagon of all these players who never use Board Game Arena but still are concerned. So if you give your comment in the guild, maybe also add this small asterisk if you are using Board Game Arena or you were never used, but you have your opinion anyway. So I have my opinion even though I was not using the platform.
Good. And I even added that to the question. And have you ever used BGA? So as I mentioned, I think it is absolutely a net positive. Like anything, there's always going to be a negative side to certain things, but it's a net positive for the industry as a whole, and it's a net positive for the average gamer. And I have played on Board Game Arena. I'm not a huge player, but I have been playing on Board Game Arena about once a week, once every two.
Once a week. I thought it was in a life.
No, once a week or once every other week for like during this year, or maybe for the last few months.
Awesome.
I get together with people from New Jersey, and we get together every Saturday, and we pick a different. We'll play on Board Game Arena, or we'll play Jackbox games, or we'll play some other things. But we have been playing Board Game Arena, and it's just easy to play there versus like Tabletop Simulator, which is like hard to play on. You got to learn the physics. And Board Game Arena, they have the rules embedded in the game. So you can't either cheat, we don't cheat, or just make a mistake. You can't make a mistake in Board Game Arena. If I try to put a card over there, it doesn't do it, right? So anyway, so right now, Ignacy is creating a thread. I see him typing right now on Board Game Geek in our guild, where you can now go and please answer the question that we posed. What do you think about Board Game Arena's acquisition by Asmodee? Positive or negative? Go over there, check it out. Make sure you're liking things, posting some questions too. Now, let's get over to the final scoring. Thank you so much for listening. Help us spread the word about this podcast by telling your friends to download Board Games Insider wherever they like to get their podcasts. To ask us questions for strategy and tactics, you must post them in the correct thread in our guild on Board Game Geek. To answer our question to you from the playtesting segment, also go to our guild on Board Game Geek and look for the thread with this episode's question. Board Games Insider has a Facebook page, so please like us on Facebook. Also on Facebook, please like Ignacy's page and Steven's page, which is /Portal Publishing and /Podfather Gaming. Our websites are portalgames.pl, portalgamesus.com, and podfathergaming.com. Go there, sign up for the newsletters, and get up-to-the-minute information on what's happening at Portal Games and with the Podfather. On social media, speak directly to Ignacy and Steven. On Twitter, it's @PortalGamesUS and @PodfatherGaming. Same on Instagram. And on YouTube, the channels are Portal Games Movies, Portal Games gameplays, and the Podfather of Gaming. We hope to see you sometime soon at a convention when they open all up again. Board Games Insider was professionally edited by Matthew Jude from This Game is Broken podcast. And if you'd like him to edit your podcast, please contact him on Twitter or email at thisgameisbrokenpodcast@gmail.com. Ignacy, tell us. You said you had a surprise, and I have a surprise too. I've got one that's got to go out too. Go ahead, you first.
February 25th, for all fans of Robinson Crusoe, they expect us to go for Kickstarter with the Book of Adventures expansion for Robinson Crusoe. But guess what? There is more. So prepare for the huge surprise on February 25th. And if you love Robinson Crusoe, I promise you, you will smile. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming.
Awesome. Guess what I have here in my hands?
I
should probably not even say it and have people have to look at the video on my YouTube channel instead. All right, I'll say it, but you should go and look at this box. I have a production copy of Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition, the new game from Stronghold Games. This is an actual production copy. So the game is printed, it's done, it's out in China, it's starting to ship. So if you go back this on Kickstarter just started yesterday. I'll be talking about it next week. And if you go back on Kickstarter, you can get this game. It's going to ship to you pretty darn soon. It's gorgeous. It's got all the, what is that called? Spot UV on the cover and things. But Terraforming Mars, Ares Expedition, a card game version, but with a lot more, as you can see the size of this box in there. And I'm not part of the company, but I am excited for it. I haven't even punched it or anything. I'm probably going to do an unboxing video and punch it. And why not do that? And then maybe I'll do a gameplay because I like it, because I'm a geek.
I will add my shipping address to the show notes so we can pass it to somebody who can send me one.
I'm sure that it could. I'm sure we can make that happen. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next week.
Absolutely. Thank you. Bye-bye.